Monday. A New York-based think tank expects second quarter inflation to breach the target set by the Banco Central as oil prices remain elevated. Local shares are seen
to move sideways later on. Meantime, workers from the IT BPO sector reiterate their push for a continued work-from-home setup that's on the back of PEZA, allowing a hybrid format for companies registered with them until September.
Local shares are seen to move sideways on a shortened trading week. Analysts say this could prompt investors to hold off on buying.
And heads up, crypto payers, you are now able to buy cryptocurrency on the PayMaya app. We begin our broadcast with an international think tank expecting inflation to breach 5% in the second quarter.
New York-based Global Source Partners says consumer price index may continue to accelerate on the back of soaring global crude prices. The think tank says headline inflation could remain elevated for the rest of the year if pump prices remain at current levels, the Philippine Star reports. If realized, this forecast will be above the Banco Central's inflation target of 2 to 4% for 2022. Recall that inflation rose to a 6-month high of 4% in March, with economists citing the impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine on energy and commodity prices. Global Source Partners analyst and former Finance Undersecretary Romeo Bernardo said companies are deferring price adjustments. However, these firms may be prompted to raise prices if their inventories get exhausted. Now, have there been adjustments in the prices of basic goods and commodities? Let's get the answer from Stephen Kua, President of the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association. Sir Stephen, good morning. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes. Morning, Jess.
All right, sir. Have you monitored price increases, well, at least in your member supermarkets? What has been the state so far? I mean, oil still remains to be volatile, but we have been seeing weeks of rollback so far, at least if I'm not mistaken. Tomorrow, at least, we can expect another round of rollbacks here. So has that been reflected in commodity prices?
Well, apparently, suppliers have advised us that prices moved up again. No, effective April 1, more than 20 suppliers have mentioned that they will be increasing some of their commodities, some of their items.
Sir, we came up with the March inflation figures, which was higher than what analysts had expected. Is this to say that prices have peaked already? Do you expect those to go lower, or is this going to be a trend going higher and above the BSP's target range?
Well, if prices are to go lower, it's going to be in the form of premiums, in the form of bundling, tie-ups, price offs, but it's temporary, so I guess when prices increase, they stick to it, unfortunately. Why there's a new wave of increases? Because they go by batches, they don't increase, and supplier does not increase everything it has in its list, they go by batches or by trenches, means say sometimes they would increase by 2% for this month, same item after 4 months they'll increase by another 3%, instead of increasing by 5% altogether, sabay-sabay, mas mabigat, the impact on shoppers.
Sir, just as an idea po for us, how do supermarkets do these price adjustments? Is that on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, especially now with these oil prices changing and the hikes happening? How quickly does the supermarket adjust, and what is the time frame that they can determine, okay, ito yung prices for this period, and then we will reevaluate, or is that just fluid day to day?
As quickly as our new deliveries arrive, Kasi once they arrive, wala ng protection order. They tell us it's increased. The prices have increased, So we have to adjust accordingly, Of course, there are some old stocks, so sometimes we let them, finish off the old stocks before we increase the price. But maghahalo ang new and old prices within the shelf. Eh. So minsan hindi pa tapos yung old stocks. You just have to increase your prices kasi otherwise you'll be selling off new inventories at old prices.
Okay, Sir Steven, the last time we talked, you mentioned price increases were pretty much evident, especially on imported goods. This time around, seeing how things have developed, at least what products are increasing, are at least experiencing increases here?
Halo-halo, no? Initially, like I mentioned, no, yung mga totally imported ng product and then repacked here, no? Or the whole product, no? Hook, line, and sinker is imported. Now, syempre, dahil ang sangkap is imported at baka dumating na or parating na yung mga bagong sangkap, no? Raw materials, no? Raw mats, no? Dahan-dahan nag-increase na rin yung mga locally manufactured goods.
Sir, what about the goods from China with all of the issues there that are happening right now? Meron bang supply side or supply chain problems, especially since we are, of course, one of the countries that import from them?
I think ang matindi is in Shanghai, no, and they don't produce a lot of items in Shanghai. No, they produce it, the factory in China. Factories in China are outside Shanghai, so hindi naman masyadong naapektuhan, no. In terms of course, naapektuhan because it's imported, but not because of what's happening now, the surge in infections in Shanghai.
Okay, since we're talking about COVID infections here, there have been proposals from different corners, whether it be from the private sector and even some of our health experts, studying the proposal of redefining what it means to be fully vaccinated. And with that comes, of course, the proposal as well to require booster vaccination for entry into establishments. Is that something that the Supermarket Amalgamated Association is also open to?
We are seriously advising our members to inform their, personnel as well as customers, to get, the booster shots. There are 27 million, I think, which are already will be expiring this July. Sayang, no? Tsaka habang wala pang surge. Pag may surge na, it's gonna aggravate the situation. No? Rising prices, lack of foot traffic in supermarkets, no? Wala nang laman ng bulsa ni Juan de la Cruz, and then there's gonna be a spike in infections. Pila, nagmamadali, no, last minute registrations. We're strongly advising our members to have their employees as well as customers have their booster shots.
Sir,
now.
just to clarify po, would you be in favor of requiring people to enter supermarkets having to show a booster card or not be allowed at all? Would this not impact the foot traffic that's already suffered?
Alam mo, pera natin yung yung pambili ng mga vaccines, right? As well as yung laking utang ng trillions, di ba? Pesos, di ba? So I suggest strongly that we all have ourselves booster shot. No? I've had mine. And yun na nga, the booster cards are welcome. No? So if that's what's needed to get people to have their shots, because everybody feels na safe na sila, walang surge, hindi na kailangan, no? Sayang, pamimigay natin sa ibang bansa, di ba? I mean, ginastos natin at iniraman natin ng pera. Yan, pera din natin, pabayaran din natin yan, di ba? So, it's not free actually. So, better go out and get their shots. So, you need booster cards to get in to buy your essential items.
Okay, so this is something that you are in favor of. Thank you so much for those insights. That was, of course, Stephen Kua, President of the Philippine Amalgamated Supermarkets Association. Now, in other news, another asset management company has been given regulatory approval to buy bad assets from the banks amid the pandemic. Now, this brings the total number of FIST corporations in the country up to 6. According to the SEC, more and more banks are looking to sell bad assets to claim the incentives under the Financial Institution Strategic Transfer or the FIST law. This law allows for the creation of SEC-registered AMCs that can help banks clean their balance sheets after the rise in bad assets during the pandemic.
A group says IT BPO firms should be allowed to continue work-from-home arrangements indefinitely. This after PEZA allowed registered IT BPO companies to continue having a hybrid work setup until September 12 or the end of the state of calamity declared by the president due to the pandemic. The PEZA, however, is only allowing 30% of their workforce to continue working from home. The Alliance of Call Center Workers says that while they welcome the move, The best solution for them is to have a hybrid work arrangement that allows employees to choose their preferred method. The PEZA, for its part, said enterprises that want to continue their work-from-home arrangements beyond September 12 should file individual applications with the agency. Director General Charito Plaza said they have received over 400 LOAs as of last week. Now on to some Agatan updates. At least one person was reported dead while two others were injured due to the impact of the tropical storm. The NDRRMC says at least one individual has been reported missing as of 8 a.m. Over 86,000 families were affected in regions 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, Caraga, and the Barm. Also, as of 8 a.m., Pag-asa has lifted signal number 2 in all areas, but many still remain under signal number 1. These include the southern portion of Masbate here in Luzon, as well as Surigao del Norte and the Dinagat Islands in Mindanao. In Visayas, areas under signal number 1 include eastern Samar, northern Samar, Biliran, and Leyte. Same goes for southern Leyte, the northeastern portion of Cebu, including Camotes Island, and the eastern portion of Bohol. Pag-asa says strong winds with minimal to minor threat to property will prevail in these areas within 36 hours. Coming right up after the break. Local shares are expected to move sideways this week as trading shortened this Holy Week.
More of that and other stories when Business World Live returns. Stay with us.
And you're still watching Business World Live here on One News. I'm Jess De Los Santos. Here are the headlines we're keeping our eyes on. The country's largest labor federation slams wage boards over their slow response to petitions seeking to raise the minimum wage. In a statement, the TUCP said the labor bureaucracy is not being responsive to the needs of workers. The group says it fears that DOLE and wage boards are just dribbling the ball to calm the workers who are facing hunger as the cost of living escalates. The wage board in Metro Manila recently dismissed a petition seeking to raise the minimum wage in the region to over 1,000 pesos per day. It said that it may release its wage-setting decision 4 days before the elections. The LTFRB has disbursed less than a third of its 3 billion peso Pantawid Pasada program from March 15 to April 4. Out of over 370,000 PUV drivers, only about 110,000 have received their fuel discount cards, which were intended to help the transport sector absorb higher fuel prices. Senate Energy Committee Chairman Win Gatchalian blames the slow disbursement on the lack of a driver database. Gatchalian is now calling for the development of a centralized driver database to ensure the proper coordination and implementation of transport programs. Now, this from the Philippine Star. The Trade Department has tied up with U.S. agencies to launch an upgraded online learning platform that helps to aid MSMEs in accelerating business recovery. The Philippines' partners for this initiative are the U.S. Association of Southeast Asian Nations Business Council and U.S. Agency for International Development. Trade Undersecretary Rafaelita Eldaba says they are upgrading the ASEAN SME Academy 2.0, which is a one-stop shop platform for online training and information resource. Eldaba says this platform aims to provide training and mentorship to enhance the capabilities of small businesses to grow and compete. The official notes that this could also help facilitate the digital transformation of MSMEs. And on the corporate front, PayMaya is venturing in cryptocurrency trading to cater to the growing popularity of crypto in the country. Through its all-in-one finance app, PayMaya said it is enabling Filipinos to buy and earn digital assets for as low as 1 peso. The company says its new offering is part of its overall thrust to go beyond payments by making financial services like crypto more accessible to the general public. Upgraded PayMaya users can use crypto to cash into their wallets, buy, sell, and spend crypto anytime with no extra cash in and cash out fees.
Let's now take a look at the biggest stories we should keep an eye on this week, courtesy of Bloomberg.
Well, this week inflation remains front and center, the war in Ukraine adding to price pressures. Let's take a look at the key events that we're watching. The cost of living is a major issue in the French presidential election, with President Emmanuel Macron now set to face nationalist rival Marine Le Pen in the final round. We'll also get inflation numbers from China and the US, where we could see a fresh 4-decade high. And a number of central bank decisions come later this week, including the ECB, the Bank of Canada, RBNZ and Bank of Korea. Sherry.
And Heidi, March may prove to be the high water mark for U.S. inflation. Consumer prices probably rose 8.4% year-on-year, reflecting elevated energy costs. And it'll be a long road back to the Fed's 2% target. Economists expect inflation to settle at an average of 5.7% in the fourth quarter, which is about 3 times the annual rate seen in the years before the pandemic. And those are the major events in your week ahead.
All right, Dan, we are all looking forward to the shortened trading work weekend. Markets definitely need a breather. What's the next 3 days going to be looking like?
Yes, Jess, konti na lang and Holy Week na. And of course, the break that we all need. But likely sideways trading, Jess, for the next 3 days. That's, of course, as people start being reflective or going to the beach. And a lot are sitting this out. So, of course, last Friday, we already managed to rebound. We kept afloat above 7,000, even as we closed the week in the red. And you can see this in my terminal here. another direction towards that side. And you can see our composite just hanging on by a thread, down already by 0.2% to 7,003.69. So we're really just hoping na makakapit lang tayo for those next 3 days just to keep ourselves afloat. And again, as already mentioned earlier on by our colleagues in Bloomberg, this is the U.S. inflation report for March coming up. Possibly, again, a fresh 4-decade high. China Bank Securities that last week showed that the markets were tilted towards the side of the bear. So there might be sideways trading with risks to the downside. Now, let's take a quick peek at the movers this morning, Jess. I'm going to pull out that for you and check in on the first 30 minutes of trade here. You can see that albeit the index is down by 0.2%, it's not that it's broad-based sell-off. You can actually see quite a lot in the green here, enjoying some gains, particularly Wilcon Depot leading the charge this morning, up by 2%, together with Converge, LTG, and MegaWorld. So really a hodgepodge of the movers. But when you take a look at those being sold off, you can see BDO and ICTSI in the losing end. Now, speaking of BDO, our biggest financier, let's take a quick peek at the banking sector on the back of our banner story here in terms of the FIS law and the provisions there. Now, when we asked, reporters asked BDO and Metro Bank, they said they are actually not keen on tapping the provisions of the FIS law, and BDO was actually also cut to a hold by coal together with BPI. Meanwhile, you've also got Union Bank. Let's see how they're moving. It's actually flattish right now. They've actually received the approval from the Philippine Competition Commission for the acquisition of Citibank's Philippine operations. And we're going to be watching out for that. The antitrust body says that this does not result in substantial lessening of competition. Let's just take a quick peek at the property space. This, of course, on the back of, the PEZA encouraging this hybrid form of working, but still, of course, still waiting in on that. The property index, however, down by 0.2% this morning, dragged by RLC and Vistaland.
All right, not a good start to the Holy Week so far, at least in the first few minutes of trade. That's a first look into the business day this Monday, April 11, 2022. Join us again tomorrow at exactly 9:30 a.m. You can also catch us on Signal Play. Register for your free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News Live anytime, anywhere. I'm Jess De Los Santos.
And I'm Danny Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.